have a few security alerts that I'd like to share with you that are important, that I'd like for you to tweet. Most of them concern His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. In fact, today, BOBIWINE, or His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, is in Washington, D.C., and at the hotel where they were having lunch or a meeting, Ambassador of Museveni, Ayogedde Adonia, was seen at the same hotel. Okay, so the president is at high security risk wherever he is, but the Museveni people have also said that he has very tight security of his own. So thank you, people power. Thank you, those who are out there and with the president and protecting him and making sure his food is checked and all that. So ISO is actually, ISO is Internal Security Organization, I believe. But there's the External Security Organization, ESO. ESO is the one that is operating out here. And Adonia Ayogedde, His Excellency, who is the ambassador for Uganda, who is related to Museveni himself, is tracking His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu very, very closely. So far, there's been 2 spies who have given feedback of reaching Kyagulanyi somehow, making a handshake or giving him a hug or being very close, in close proximity with him. So reports have gotten back to Museveni. It is possible that through Ayogedde, the ambassador, Ayogedde Adonia, the ambassador of Uganda in the United States, who is seen at certain places where His Excellency has appeared, meeting Ugandans. So the report back from the SO guys is that 2 people have successfully reached the president, even though they were not able to execute their plans, which is poisoning him through his food. They have not been successful, therefore have reported back to Museveni that he should send somebody, a lady from Canada, because he seems to have a way with, or a soft heart for Ugandans in the diaspora of the females, meaning that, like the mothers, he gives a hug to the elders, the women, the mothers, the grandmothers, the older ladies who just adore him. They come close, they want to see him, they want to talk to him. They call him my son, my son, my son. So they want to plant such an individual who will be close, who can reach the president, potentially serve him, because being a Muganda, he's a very respectable, or gives a lot of respect to people, especially women or mothers by tradition. So the SO have suggested that they do send a female to go and potentially poison his food so that to successfully achieve Museveni's goal. Museveni says even if God calls him, which I don't think that's God, it'll be the devil, even if he dies on the same day that he kills BOBIWINE, he will consider his life a success and that he'll be ready to die. That is how much Museveni makes every effort to bring down, to capture, and take down His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. So, great job, security team or detail of BOBIWINE, His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. Museveni has not stopped, and he wants to try to get His Excellency BOBIWINE poisoned in the United States by a woman who will be brought from Canada, possibly a woman of an elder type mother stage, who will look to BOBIWINE as one of the ladies that he does relate with respectfully as a mother. Baganda respect their mothers, or people who are motherly, very, very much, with very high regard. They will, even if they gave you food, you would take it and consume it because it seems like your mother has given you something to eat. So that is something that is very important that needs to be tweeted and shared. ESO agents of Museveni, including the ambassador Adonia Ayebali, who lives in Washington, D.C. at the Ugandan embassy, has been tracking down His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu and sending spies. So far, 2 have reported unsuccessful missions of trying to poison him. Share that. Very, very important. I said, Museveni said, if he could only take out Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, he would be ready to go and go with Janet or whatever that means. Okay? So very important to share. Excellent job. The detail of Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. For now, please keep it even more tight. Not even the ladies, nobody should get close or touch his food. Okay? Another update. In the same meeting, I understand there was a high security personnel meeting in Uganda where they said things like, they feel like the police and the military are on the side of the people. Obviously, with Kyagulanyi surviving 2 months in Uganda in hiding or passing by them and them not touching him, Museveni feels betrayed by those people. So what he has decided to do is going to order the military and the police to be very cruel to Ugandans so that Ugandans will not like them and cause more fear amongst the people. He wants Ugandans to be afraid of the uniform. But so far, because they've been so beaten, they've been arrested, they've been tortured, they've been internal organs taken, they've been leached in acid, they've been dumped in swamps, all manner of atrocities have been committed on Ugandans by people in uniform. Now that doesn't mean those are Ugandan militia, like the Ugandan military or Ugandan-born military. These are people who sometimes pose as Ugandans, even though there are some Ugandan military who actually perform these atrocities on orders by the Musevenis. This time, Museveni wants to create extreme fear among the Ugandan nationals, the people, the locals, by making sure that his military and police intensify cruelty on Ugandans. Okay? They're resolved that it will be wild on civilians, and they'll use extreme roughness and cruelty so that Ugandans become more fearful again of the military. Because it used to be that we can now eat with them or share something with them or treat them nicely. In fact, the president, Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, says when you find a policeman or a military man, empathize with them because they're sent to do these things. They're actually not bad people. They can change. Their heart is different. But because they're ordered by the Musevenis, they perform really dirty deeds. So continue being kind to Ugandan military police and military because truly they don't feel like what they're actually sent to do. But Museveni wants to intensify that cruelty to make you hate them even more. They're on our side, so just be nice to them. And somehow they'll figure out a way to let you go scotch-free, hopefully. Okay? Now, because Museveni has failed to account, this is another discussion point that they had a discussion about. Museveni has failed to justify or satisfy the request for accountability on cruelty on Ugandans. During elections, before elections, the first presidential election where His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu participated, where he won the election in 2021. And the second time, since the beginning of that, since the Arua incident where BOBIWINE was almost killed by Museveni, all that time there's been documented, very well documented cruelty on the Museveni side, starting with himself, BOBIWINE. You will remember that BOBIWINE, when he was captured in Arua, when he went to campaign for Mbazira in part of Busoga, Bugiri. Remember that time when he was taken and beaten so badly, brought into Kampala, remanded in Gulu or something like that, and then eventually released. And he came straight to the United States for treatment and all of that. All that started happening when he joined politics, when he ran for the special election in Kamwocha and won the election as MP, and onward to today. Everything has been documented and submitted to the ICC in order of occurrence. All of that has been documented. Everybody who got lost, people who have been reported missing, people who have reported themselves having been held by the police and all that, people who have witnessed others' internal organs being taken away by the Rwabogos, all of those, if you know, there's even a documentary that details some of that, the president's time and all of that happened in the past election. You will know that there's been a endless piles of dirt that has been committed by the Museveni people. Now, all of that information has been documented and has been availed. Like our videos, my videos, mine goes straight into the database, the ICC, the UN, all of that. All of these feeds have been documented perfectly by the ICC. So Museveni has been requested multiple times by different organizations, whether they fund him or not, or international bodies that have to do with human rights. They have asked him on a report about what has happened, documentation that has come in stating this, that, and the other. They're asking Museveni to explain. He cannot explain what he did with those people. Several Ugandans have died. Some of them know that the Chibalama just disappeared. The 18 people who are in Kalangala who were captured, it is said that they were leached in acid. There is not a grave. There is not a sign. Museveni cannot explain. With all of that being on his front and having no accountability, Museveni is now trying to figure out how he can land that big issue, try to hoodwink or convince the Western world otherwise. Some of the things that he thinks he wants to do, which when we tweet things like this, okay, we hope that he'll put a stop to it. But he's so stubborn that he may execute it in some kind of way. So I want you guys to tweet all of this information because it's credible, true, and very, very urgent, okay? This particular point pertains to our imprisoned brothers and sisters who have not committed a crime. All political prisoners are affected by what this is going to be that I'm explaining to you. So he has decided, as you have noticed in the news, I think the day before yesterday, a few Indians were captured they planned this where they had these Indians in a home somewhere or a neighborhood somewhere. They went and gathered all of them just for the sake of news, paraded them as being deported or something like that. Truly, those people were transported somewhere and returned to where they were picked up. He wants to try to make it that he wants to cause an atrocity that will just lump everyone that he has captured that was a political prisoner, the people who disappeared, the people that they're asking for accountability since 2008. Okay, all of the oppositions that have been killed over the years. They're proposing that they bring in M23, okay, after the Indian saga and the illegal immigrant saga. They now want to bring in M23. You might know that M23 is Museveni's and Kagame's military. It is not a Congolese military. M23 is an army, a rebel group of Kagame and Museveni. Now what he wants to do with them is to bring them into Uganda. They're in Uganda anyway. He wants to use the M23, okay, as gangsters, send them into the prisons where our brothers and sisters are being held, where political prisoners of opposition are being held. By opposition, I mean NUP, National Unity Platform, political prisoners. Where they are held is where Museveni wants to send M23 soldiers to go in there and cause a saga. They are going to send in both male and female M23 agents of theirs. into those prison cells in Wulira, where our prisons are. Wulira prison is the main focus, but that doesn't mean they won't go to Chitalia and all the other places. So Wulira prison is the main focus right now. They will send M23 soldiers in there, or police, and have them go and hurt, kill all of the political prisoners of National Unity Platform. Remember, Museveni has no documentation over what happened to the Chibalamas, the people who have been missing, the other prisoners who are taken, who are never seen again, all those types of prisoners. He has no way of explaining. So now he's going to say M23 rebels have been attacking Uganda, and it's possible that they are the ones responsible for those atrocities. Please tweet this. Museveni is going to send M23 into Wulira police prisons, have them kill political prisoners in there, and then burn the prison. Wulira prison will be set on fire by the M23, by the Museveni and Salim Saleh Muhoozi's government. He wants to burn them down so that he can say, everybody who got lost between 2008 and onward, the prisoners who are not documented, were burned in Wulira prison. I don't know how big that prison is, but definitely cannot hold the millions of Ugandans of National Unity Platform who Museveni has taken their life. So that is his plan. He wants to set Wulira prison ablaze, burn it down, and claim that M23 are attacking Uganda, that M23 came and burned down the prison. In another way, he will also try to get funding for his government because of the atrocity that is happening in Uganda designed by him to try to get funding from the UN. That is how Museveni has gotten funding for all these things that have happened to Ugandans that he designed himself. Museveni is hailed for fighting HIV/AIDS, but do you know that Museveni is the one who injected Ugandans with HIV/AIDS? A lot of Baganda, Liantonde and all those places were injected with HIV. A lot of executive business owners in Uganda were killed by HIV injections from the Musevenis. There's a documentary that I have on my page that Museveni injected northern Ugandan men and women who were in the military at the time that he took over the government with HIV/AIDS to try to kill them all so that they don't regroup and take over his government. So HIV/AIDS was brought by Museveni, and he got a lot of funding for it. The LRA war for 20 years was commanded by Museveni, performed by Museveni entirely, and he got funding for it from the UN. Share this with these organizations that continue giving Museveni money. Every atrocity in Uganda was caused by Museveni so that he can get funding from the Western world. Even burning the prisons, when he does, or if he does, it is going to be for the sake of him taking accountability for losing, for all the questions about no political prisoners who are missing, and trying to seek funding from the Western world, and also taking BOBIWINE Kyagulanyi's name out from the media because he's headlining everything, and Museveni is fed up with BOBIWINE being a headline for Uganda in every bit and every way. So, two things. His spies from ESO are tracking BOBIWINE like to the T, okay? The other thing is that Wulira prison, Museveni wants to burn down. To burn Wulira prison with all the prisoners, all National Unity Platform prisoners will be burned by Museveni, by his proposition in Wulira, okay? As he plans on his swearing in and all that, he's afraid of BOBIWINE's name still being all over the news. And so Museveni plans on a way or ways to bring news to him and take BOBIWINE's name out of the news. It could be temporarily or whatever the case might be, because even his swearing in ceremony, nobody's concerned with it. By now it would be Al Jazeera saying this and that, or the CNN Africa saying, oh, he's going to swear in and all of that. It has not happened this time because they know he did not win the election. Besides that, there's no proof No DR forms stating that Museveni actually won the election this time. No. The first time he did it, somehow he had the documentation. This time, even the Electoral Commission page does not have the documentation to prove that he did win an election. So many countries, presidents, organizations do not support the fact that he thinks he won the election. Okay? So he wants to find a way to get Bobi Wine's name off the global news, away from the global news, so that he can have his name, and whatever he's doing to come onto the news, and also try to seek funding for what he's going to do next. These are the things that Museveni plans on doing. One of the suggestions in their meeting was that they announced Janet's passing, but they did not like the idea because they don't want to look weak at this time. They're trying to get over this hurdle of him swearing in as president, and then his son Muhoozi taking over because his son will be designated vice president, and then on and on and on. So because they didn't want to look weak, they've decided that pronouncing Janet Museveni is not ideal. So that was skipped. But here's what they're going to do, or they plan to do. Tweet this, because this is very, very dangerous. Please make sure you tweet these items, okay? Hold on just a minute. Let me turn on the lights. 1 second. I don't know if that ruins it, but what? Okay, I hope it's better. Please share this as soon as you can. Tweet this. You can break these up as much as you need to. So one of the ways that Museveni wants to drive attention away from His Excellency onto himself, he wants to cause an airplane crash. He wants to cause an airplane crash of international passengers on board an airplane. He wants to take it out of the skies and crush it to drive attention back to Uganda. I'm assuming that that will mean that they will still be in the skies within the Ugandan area, geographical area, airspace. So tweet this and share this with the international communities, because this is important. If it happens, it is because Museveni has done it himself. The other thing he wants to do, and this is also very important, all because he wants to draw attention to himself and to say that M23 is active in Uganda, which is not true. M23 is Museveni's own personal rebel group that he sends to go and perform atrocities as he wishes, to go and hoodwink the Western world into giving him funding and money. That is what he did in Congo. And they sent a lot of money thinking Museveni is keeping peace in Congo. No, he was sending his own rebel group to go and cause attacks, and then sending this board army of his to go and combat those attacks. But they were all arranged like he has done, including in Acholi sub-region where he did the LRA war. He made sure that he went at night and attacked those people, and in the daytime he showed up as the savior and cried to the Western world for 20 years. The LRA war was all Museveni's perpetration, all his job, but Uganda was given so much funding and money to try to seek stability in the area. And yet this same president was the one doing all these things. Museveni was the perpetrator of the LRA war. For 20 years, the Western world gave him money. So let us stop this, because as a country, Uganda has a lot of wealth that it can stand alone, and Ugandans can go back to Uganda and build their country. We have enough gold, we have enough oil. Uganda can thrive without international funding. And we can just have happy relationships with the Western world without having them dish all this to us, because they also have economies. The U.S. has an economy to manage. The U.S. has its own population to manage. Uganda has enough resources to run its own affairs without having people like the Musevenis coming in there and making it look worse. Okay? So the next thing that he wants to do is abduction of an international tourist group. So they want to abduct a group of tourists. Share this. I am not bad-mouthing my country as Uganda. No, I want people to come to Uganda and feel safe and feel at home. When there are plans like this, we must share them to keep people alive and safe, okay? I'm sharing this right now urgently because anybody who goes to Uganda should not have to lose their life. No. Uganda is a peace-loving country, but the people who are running that country are running it down to the ground. Museveni plans to abduct a group of international tourists and not kill them, but act as a ransom to get money from wherever they are, and also to say that M23 is attacking the country and abducting people. If M23 was in Uganda, they would have been attacking Museveni's government first. Museveni would have lost somebody by now. If it is M23, Muhoozi would not exist because he's such a nuisance in that country. If M23 existed in Uganda, Muhoozi would have been the first one to go. That's the logic. There is no point having that Muhoozi in that country if we have a rebel group called M23. It would not be, the succession plan would not work. No. So M23 is Museveni's militia. Muhoozi has bragged about being a brother of M23. So international community, please note, if anyone is abducted, any foreigners abducted in Uganda, it will be because of the Museveni's plan to hoodwink the Western world that we have a rebel group happening in Uganda. If an airplane is crashed in Uganda with passengers, especially those from abroad or leaving to go abroad, it will be because of the Museveni's plan. Okay. Another thing that they plan to do, this is internal for Ugandans. They plan on causing a major accident in Uganda involving fuel tanks. You know those tanks that are pulled behind a big truck that travel supplying oil to different petrol stations or oil stations or fuel stations? Those kinds. They're going to stall a couple of them in the highway, one of the highways in Kampala or Uganda. Once they are stalled, they will cause a roadblock where they will only pass through, they will only allow taxis, because taxis and buses have more capacity of people. Once those types of vehicles get through and get into these regions, then they will act some sort of weird, believe me, I might sound absolutely crazy, but let me tell you this, Museveni has done crazier things than this that I'm telling you right now. If you are to hear everything that this man has done, you will not believe it. So what I'm giving you here is the tip of the iceberg. This man has done the most filthy things in this country called Uganda. So anyway, once the buses and taxis and all that have gone through, they will then set the military or the M23 people who will be part of this thing, they will then fire bullets into those tanks, causing a huge fire. You know how fuel burns for days, for hours, meaning that those people trapped between those two ends, with either before the fuel tanks or in between the fuel tanks or whatever the case might be, those people will not survive. They want at least 500 citizens of Uganda burned to death on a traffic stack, a traffic jam that is self-imposed by the M23 people who they're going to use to cause this type of jam. You know, when fuel is lit, it burns like no tomorrow. That is what they plan to do, to set fire or set chemicals to start the fire in the evening when this thing happens, so that it is dark, you don't know where you're going to, you are trapped between vehicles, you are maybe trapped inside a vehicle, because in a matter of emergency, sometimes you don't have the right ideas to go here and there and do this and that, okay? This man is filthy. Once this jam idea is caught or does happen, then he will have a reason to go and catch Asim Wewile who is one of the people who is outspoken like I am. He lives in Qatar. Muhozi, this was Muhozi's idea. He wants this to happen so that he can go ahead and capture William with this fact, because William has said if a traffic jam is caused in Uganda, Museveni's government will not last a day. So now they want to design it themselves and have it happen and then go and capture Asimo Willie. But listen to this. All of these things that I've told you here, share them, because if they happen a day from now, guess who will be at fault? Muhozi. Share as much as possible. Share this as much as possible. Okay? The next thing that they've discussed is Museveni is afraid the sovereignty bill is not going to pass. He even told Anita Among that she may as well just forget about it because it's not going to pass. Because what his intention for the sovereignty bill has been is to affect National Unity Platform President Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. As I said in my earlier videos, this bill was meant to affect BOBIWINE, affect him in his own funding for the for National Unity Platform, and affect donors like us who do share or send some funding for other business in Uganda, for National Unity Platform, for all of those activities that are necessary for our relatives. They want to stifle us from trying to do things like this, to keep this type of support to strengthen the grassroots in Uganda. But I kid you not, these guys plan a serious reset of Uganda if things don't change. Okay? So he hates that His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu has made sure that he's not receiving funding in Uganda, which we are going to continue speaking about, because the Western world has thought that Museveni is the savior during all these times. No, he has not been. I saw somewhere where, in the news, where they said that Museveni suggested that funds from the National Social Security Fund, NSSF, are to be used for building roads. In fact, I don't believe that those funds are still available. I did watch a documentary today where Ali Madi was interviewing Bakoko Bakulu, who used to be the NSSF director at the time that she was still in Uganda. She actually had to run for her life. So just so you know that Museveni, whatever he does, is not good for Ugandans. How can he say Social Security Fund, which is for people who have worked, some people have already retired, that those funds be sent to be used to build roads? What happened to the budgets that we've always been passing, saying this money is for this and that and the other? According to Bakoko Bakulu, she says that all the funds that were taken out prior to when she discovered that the funds were missing were taken by the Museveni's family. His personal children. So in their fear that they're losing grip on East Africa, because apparently these Rwandese had planned to take over the whole of East Africa. The whole of East Africa, they plan to take over and plant their children. They have children all over Uganda and East Africa, all over. Museveni has children in tons in Uganda. So let me just tell you which kids are where and what the plans are for the different countries. In Rwanda itself, Kagame has a son who he wants to take over. He's actually the military commander at this point. He's the one supposed to take over Rwanda. In Burundi, Kagame has a son whom he had with a relative of Museveni and is the next one in line for the presidency in Burundi. In Congo, Kagame has a son. In Kenya, Museveni has a son who is planned to take over Kenya. In fact, Ruto is at risk of losing his life because it is time for them to take charge as they had planned. They are now going to rush those plans because they feel like they've delayed, and His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu has exposed them completely. Maria, I love you too. So with all these things that are going on, these guys are rushing to perform and get what their plans were into place. But of course, as life intended things, as God intended it for Uganda, it is not going to happen because His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu is doing a phenomenal job out there, that I know that it is a matter of time before these people are out of there. It's a matter of time. Museveni says, if I die after I've killed Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, I'll consider my life a success. That is how bad this has gotten. So have faith, keep doing what you're doing because it's very important. I had to come today because, let me look, I think I may have a couple more things I wanted to share. Just give me a minute. So apparently the plans of the sacrifice or the rituals that Muhoozi needs to win or become president have to go on. That is why the 500 people would be the cause of the accident is intended for the Muhoozi rituals. They are very, very evil and spiritual people. You know that. The other reason why there's so much behind trying to track down or get His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu or try to put him out of action, try to kill him or something like that, is because they're pushing for Muhoozi's project. I mentioned yesterday that Muhoozi says that most of the older generals call him Kaboy, and so he must get rid of those people. The list that I read to you about the reset, all of that has to do with the processes and what they're going to plan to do to try to get Muhoozi situated into a place that they want him to be as the president of Uganda. First of all, they want to try to get him off the CDF position and get him into vice presidency as soon as Museveni pronounces, or as soon as Museveni declares himself, or what is that called? Swears in as president of Uganda. Okay? So that is still a big idea that they're trying to push. I think that's all I have for this evening. I've had to do this at home, so I needed to get this out, and I hope you guys don't mind at all. I prefer doing it in the car. But I don't think they'll track my address or anything, even if it's public record. I'm not worried about that. Thank you so much for being here. Let me know what you want to hear. I want to come back and talk about Akabano. Akabano is a Rwandese group. It's an organization of the Rwandese people that was put together way back when they came into, when they were still working with Julius Nyerere in Tanzania. And when they came into Uganda as refugees, they formed the Kabano. It's an organization. It's actually registered. They meet very often. They have spies all the way to village levels. I mean, the guy who supplies milk, the guy who walks around with sandals, the one who comes and paints nails, the taxi guy, the boda guy, the guy who gives loans in town. All those are Kabano people, and all they do is information. They gather and supply and cast. So they've cast a net wide and far in the country, Uganda and East Africa, because everything that's happening in Uganda that Rwandese are doing is similar. I have many friends from different parts of East Africa, and our problems are the same. If it's not the Rwandese, the Tutsis, all our problems appear the same. They're dressed the same. They look the same. They behave the same. Similar atrocities. I mean, harassments of women, raping men, taking away opposition, killing opposition. All that is common characteristic, because they thought that by now they would have conquered East Africa and that they would be the actual president. So that's why they're hurrying up with grooming their sons sons, and stashing them in places. President Ruto of Kenya, be very, very careful. Anybody from Kenya, President Ruto is a target because they feel like he has done his dirty deeds and it's time for him to go and there's a son of Museveni, well poised in the military, who is next in line and will be taking on Kenya right after Ruto is done. Ruto has been used. It is time to eliminate Ruto. So a month or two, they say he's not going to be existent. So if if something like this happens, I'm saying it now because I've been asked to warn. Okay? This is some really, really, really high profile information that I got that I had to pass today. His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu is at risk wherever he is. Adonia Ayebale, the ambassador of Uganda to the United States, who lives in Washington, D.C., is following him almost every day. At the hotel in Washington today where they had a meeting or had lunch, Ayebale was seen visibly at the site. Okay? External security has met His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu and shaken hands with him. That's how much they have gotten everywhere. Okay? ISO agents are neck and neck with His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. Be very vigilant. Security, do whatever you need to do. So far, you've performed excellently well. Museveni swears and says if he goes on the same day that he kills BOBIWINE, he will consider his life on earth perfect because he thinks leaving BOBIWINE alive and his family behind will mean tears from the beginning to the end. He doesn't know that our God is the one who makes that decision. He doesn't. So we're praying, we're working hard, we're going to make sure that Kyagulanyi Ssentamu is safe, will live through, and will bury Museveni. He will be here when Museveni is gone. Not that he will physically go to the funeral. Kyagulanyi will be here when the news breaks that Museveni is gone. Okay? Take care. I love you so much, and I hope you have a great evening. It's night for me, that's why I say that. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.